Eruption of chaos. Nightingale sprinted down the street at the head of her little group, ignoring the stares of evening travelers, city guards, and less reputable folk alike. It was a good thing Patrick knew the way. There were dozens of guards on the street armored in black, along with a row of men carrying buckets and shouting. Nightingale ignored them too, and in the chaos, nobody moved to stop them. "What's going on?" Nightingale asked. The sky smelled like a bonfire. "I don't know," Patrick said, "but we best hurry." Soon they arrived at their destination, and Nightingale stopped short as they came to Malik's home. The elegant manor was in ruins. The front of the building had been blown to pieces. Stray bricks and cracked rock littered the streets, and the windows of neighboring houses had been shattered. Instead of an elegant garden, a makeshift triage had been set up. Several men and women in dark armor had already been covered up with bloody sheets. Nightingale shoved straight through another guard, then past a nervous steward to where Malik was sprawled on a cot. The man wasn't in good shape. Burns covered part of his body, and his belly had been wounded, wrapped with too little bandage. If Remy got hurt because this asshole took her home. "Malik!" There was nothing of deference in Nightingale's voice, only an imperious shout loud enough to be heard over the chaos. He looked up, eyes partially glazed. "Is that the arson girl?" Malik was a bit delirious, even as he asked. It was obvious he was in pain. "Yes!" She loomed over him, hissing through gritted teeth. "What happened?" "Aisling," he pointed back towards the house. "She has the hegemonics. The damn artifact is dangerous. She used it to summon an exalted Esper. My people fought, but..." "But what?" "Remy," he said, seething as much as Nightingale. "While we were fighting for our lives, she dragged her off." "Where's the city guard? What's Grace doing?" Zeke asked, looking around at the mayhem. "She's probably finding out about this now." Malik's weakness seemed to flee for a moment, and he reached, grabbing Nightingale's arm. "Arson, you have to save my daughter. Remy shouldn't have to suffer for what I've done. I'll give anything to have her back safe. I know that Patrick has an idea of where she might be." "You can keep your blood money," Nightingale said as she turned away from him, tail snapping in her anger. "Remy's my friend. That's all that matters." She left him there, the triage swarming with more and more guards and attendants by the second. Together, the group slipped away before any of Grace's people could arrive and try and detain them again. "Well, Patrick? Where'd she go?" Nightingale had no compassion left. Her question was cold. "Malik said you know where to find her." Patrick had gone pale, and his hands shook visibly as he drew, checked, then holstered his gun over and over again. "Not at home. She's not an idiot. She talked about a hideout, but I don't know where it is." He stopped in the middle of the empty street, looking defeated. Zeke spoke up weary at how desperate Nightingale looked. "I guess Malik and Grace are both criminals. Is that strike 3 or 4 on the villain list? In either case, I'd guess that we only have a small window before Grace sends someone to find us. Maybe we can find Aisling, find more about Theodosian, and then get the hell out of here." Nightingale scoffed at the remark, but as she turned to respond, she felt a sudden wave of nausea that caused her to steady herself. "I know where she is." The Malamus spoke in her mind. It was like a cacophony of voices that all came at once. "It's your fault this happened, Nightingale. If you had let me lead you to Aisling sooner, the murderer would be dead, and your friend would be safe." Nightingale didn't banish the voice as she had each time before. Instead, she listened. "Is your last offer still good?" Nightingale thought back. "Absolutely." The air before her blurred and fuzzed, filling with an abomination of snapping teeth and writhing black ink flesh. "My terms are equitable. Speak your consent, and we will put this matter to rest." "Hey, everybody!" she called, interrupting the deliberation she hadn't been listening to. "I know how to find Remy." "Really?" They all looked at her, straight through the transparent form in the air in front of her. "How?" Rook asked, a bit worried. "The parasite, the Malama can find her." I'm going to let it take my body over long enough to lead us there, Nightingale said with feigned confidence. Zeke dropped the cigarette he was holding. Patrick just looked confused, but Rook's expression darkened. Nightingale, you can't do that. How do you think it's going to take you over? Not all at once. It's little pieces just like this. We have to find her another way. She didn't falter. You got a better idea, Rook? Rook only remained silent for a moment. Let's ask Surrey. With that, he reached out into the ether and willed the girl to manifest herself. A short moment later, and the girl appeared. Surrey, do you think you can help us find Aisling? Rook asked. Who is Aisling? Surrey looked confused. I'm not all-knowing, Rook, though I wish I were. You humans should be better at finding yourselves. Surrey glanced over her shoulder with a nervous look. I'd rather not be wandering around after what happened with Melody either. There's no saying what agents of the Great Bounty might be lurking about. Patrick looked even more confused. He stared dumbly at Surrey's floating form but didn't comment. Rook sighed, and Surrey popped out of existence. I guess I don't have a better idea. Neither do I, Nightingale said with determination. Just don't let me do anything stupid, all right? I'll tell you when I'm back. Rook frowned at her. I don't think it works like that. She ignored him, extending her hand towards the Malama's invisible shape. Just long enough to lead us there, right? Only long enough. The scale is always even with me, the Malama said with a gleeful tone. What other choice did she really have? Nightingale wasn't going to just let Remy die. With that thought, Nightingale willed it. It was as if she opened a locked door in her mind that let the Malama walk inside. With that, everything faded away, and the darkness lengthened and stretched, wrapping itself around her mind. Nightingale changed. It was almost as if her skin tone had gone a whole 2 shades paler, and considering how pale she was already, it made her a stark white. Rook peered at her with a mixture of academic curiosity and fear. Her green hair seemed to drift, as though she were submerged in water he couldn't see. There was also a darkness in her eyes, something sinister and lacking in empathy. Come, Nightingale said, but her voice was flat and emotionless. She began walking off down the street at a slow, jilted walking pace, as if she was learning to walk for the first time. Her movements seemed abrupt and purposeful, as if she was trying to be careful not to fall. Rook and Zeke shared a look of worry before following. Nightingale's body led them all the way out of the city. She never tired, never slowed, and barely responded to anything they said. And after a few long moments, they made it less than a mile out of the city through a winding path that led them up a nearby cliffside void of roads. As they walked, Rook couldn't help but wonder what Nightingale, the real Nightingale, was feeling. Nightingale screamed. She was aware of what was happening, but she had no control over her actions. It was as if she was locked inside of her own head, pacing behind the windows of her eyes. Stupid girl, the Malama thought, and its horrible voice echoed through the confines of her mind, the confines of her whole existence. I'll lead them to the place where Aisling is, but if they all die, you cannot blame me. Don't hurt them. We had a deal, Nightingale yelled, but her thoughts were crushed by the Malama forcing her into submission within her own consciousness. I always honor my deals. Protecting them wasn't one of the terms. The Malama snapped at her, crushing her will. Your frail body is feeble. Aisling is truly strong, void of weakness. Her despair has forged her into someone that might actually be worthy of me. Nightingale lashed out. With no body, it felt like a tug of emotion driving her position within the blackness that surrounded her. As she did, though, she felt her spirit suddenly strapped to the floor of her mind, leaving her crushed beneath the weight of her own sorrow, and the Malama taunted her. When Aisling eviscerates your friends and grinds them into a paste using the hegemonics, I'll be happy to leave your body for a new one. Then the Malama laughed, loud enough that she couldn't escape it. There wasn't anywhere to go. Nightingale recoiled inside of her own mind, but no matter what she did, her reality was filled with the laughs of the Malama. "Be on your guard," Nightingale said, cocking her head to look at Rook, Zeke, and Patrick. The three were following behind her. "There are monsters about," she said with a jovial grin.